Welcome to San Antonio Sports Motivation Monday. I am Mandy Adkins, and today we have the special privilege of visiting with Jackie Joyner-Kersee, who is one of the greatest track and field athletes in American history. She was the first American woman to win an Olympic gold medal in the long jump, and the first woman to compile over 7,000 points in the 7-event heptathlon. And Jackie went on to win 3 golds, a silver, and 2 bronze medals over 4 separate Olympics. And she was also named Sports Illustrated for Women's top female athlete of the 20th century. And today, Jackie is the heart and soul of the Jackie Joyner-Kersee Foundation, which is headquartered in her hometown of East St. Louis. And the JJK Foundation encourages young people in East St. Louis to pursue athletics and academics. So Jackie, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
So at San Antonio Sports, we offer fundamental youth development through our I Play After School program. And it bridges the gap between those who can readily get sport instruction and those who can't. And we ensure that children in our community can experience the power of sport. So can you share with us your thoughts on what the power of sport has done for you in your life?
You know, when I think about what the power of sports has done for me is one, to find my passion, but to also in finding my passion, I enjoyed what I was doing, and enjoying what I was doing, it also helped me to set goals and to realize that you might fall short, that you don't give up, you know, so the perseverance, being consistent. And so what I love about sports and what it's been able to do for me is in a way have shaped my way of life, from the teamwork aspect, or being coachable, working with people, and then also knowing that you experience wins and losses in sports, and how you handle those different situations, and how some of those situations will eventually mirror life. How you deal with rejection, and do you figure out a way how to bounce back, or you just end up giving up? And for me, it was never about quitting. It was just always learning how I could do something better. And if I fell short, I found a way to get up and listen to my coaches and work with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit about your foundation and how and why sport became the cornerstone for your programming.
So for me, my foundation work started in the latter part of the 80s, and after I had won 2 gold medals. But I was introduced to a community center in my hometown of East St. Louis that exposed me to the sports, to the arts, to the education aspect of going into the library, working with the librarian, but then also the administration side of that, seeing people working a job, while on the other side is this recreation part where kids and young people, we just having a lot of fun. And so realizing that one side is the business side, the other side is the fun side. The business side was the adults, the fun side was where the kids were. And so I got involved through athletics, through the Mary Brown Center. And eventually I wasn't one of the best girls. I wanted to be good, so every day I would show up to practice. And so by the time I was 14, I said I wanted to go to the Olympics, and not knowing if any of that was going to come to pass. Eventually it did. And so as I traveled and went off to school, ended up losing my mom as a freshman, and I wanted to come back to the community center that had done so much for me, and not realizing that center I was greeted with padlocks on the door. And so I just started thinking, where do the young people go? And that was the beginning of me wanting to try to reopen that community center, which wasn't to be. And so I just started, thinking about, I didn't need a building to help people. So I made my first Olympic team in '84, didn't have resources. And it wasn't until 4 years later that I was like, wow, through working with my school, my track coach, Coach Nino Fenoy, and he was still the coach at East St. Louis Lincoln High School, worked with the girls, had a what I would call a roundtable conversation, with Jackie. That's how I came up with Winning in Life, being able to have young girls just have a dialogue of what's going on in their life. And so the JJK Foundation, as it is today, we opened in 2000, but I've been doing my work since '88 because I didn't need a building to help people. And so in 2000, we opened. We use sports as a hook to get our young people in the door. We want to make sure that each and every one of our kids can read at grade level. They do the enrichment. We have our Winning in Life. It's a program / curriculum, but it's threaded through everything that we do, dealing with the 14 different principles and just trying to get young people to, movement, and I always talk about the young people, but we also have a program that's called our Healthy Steppers for our seniors. But with COVID going on, that we haven't been able to do much, or the seniors haven't been able to come over to the center because we're doing remote learning. Today, we do door-to-door transportation. And when I say door-to-door, we pick them up from school, bring them to the JJK. When they come through the doors of the JJK, they sign in, then they go get a meal. We feed them a meal. Then we assist with homework. Some might go into the STEM program. So that might be the reading part of it. Some might go to the math part of it. Some might be working on the agriculture side of it. Then you also have just the arts and the dance. So that's what we're doing in East St. Louis. And then in the end, we take them home.
Oh, wow.
And so, yes. And so once COVID hit in March, today we're still doing remote learning. We have about, consistently now we have roughly around 75 to 80. We had started off with 150. That's before some of the schools were having in-class participation. And so some of those students went back into the classroom, but the East St. Louis School District, it was still doing remote. And so we're assisting and, but within the next probably week and a half, that probably would change. One of the things we've been trying to figure out, for us, there's not really a whole lot of organized sports, but there might be some things that, I would love to do. I've been talking with my Winning in Life director, Latrice Sales, about maybe we can do some drills. We can work on flexibility, and we can social distance because we have the facility and a large gymnasium where we're able to do things and people can feel safe.
Right. Yeah, that's the critical piece. And you all are doing such great work for the kiddos in your programming and your Winning for Life program. And, you've spent a lot of time and money and just dedication in your life to helping youth. Can you tell us about why you're passionate about youth and children and what stems that passion for you?
Yeah, I think the reason I'm passionate about it because when I was coming up, someone saw the potential in me. I had caring adults and what we call them at that time, they were chaperones. And, my parents didn't have the world, my mom and dad struggled, to make ends meet and make sure we stayed in my great grandmother's home and to keep a roof over our head. And so wanting to do sports and track and field, it doesn't cost a lot, but then you have to worry about equipment. And those coaches didn't turn their backs on any of us, and so even when they decided to divide, the girls, one coach just wanted to coach all boys, and Coach Nino Fenoy was like, there is a place in sports for girls. And so he would continue, if he had to coach on his own, he would continue to coach us. And so that has stayed with me, that someone cared enough to give us a place to do something that we love doing, not knowing that eventually, you know, we would come state champions, national champions, Olympic champions, you know. So it just take that one person. And from there, then it had many coaches out there trying to help us. And so in return, as I continue on my journey, is that how do I pay it forward, but also find a way to give back? And that's why I do what I do, is giving back, because someone gave so much to me.
Yeah, that's incredible. And we talk a lot about at San Antonio Sports, the power of the relationship a coach has with a student. And it's just, I mean, it's undeniable. And, you know, a lot of times the kid will do for a coach what they might not do for a parent.
Exactly. And those relationships are, you know, are invaluable, because I know a lot of times, you know, even like when I got to the elite level, and my husband, who coaches me, and he would bring in other coaches because we're so close that I could hear him, but I'm not executing what he's saying. Then the one coach could come in and say the exact same thing, and I go back and tell him, well, he told me da 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 da, and he's like, yeah, that's what I was telling you too. So the relationships are invaluable. They're so important, and the trust, building trust, and having trust. It's a two-way street. So just like the coaches want student athletes to trust in them, then the coach got to also trust in the athlete. And as student athletes, you know, and you know when someone is genuine. And so for us, it was always about not how fast or how far I could jump or throw. Is that they cared about us as individuals that led us to run fast and to jump far, because now I want to show and prove to my coaches that all that investment, now it's time for me to go out and execute, you know. So that you know, combination makes for a winning combination.
Right. Yeah, that's incredible. Well, can you tell us any tips that you have for how you personally stay motivated, especially in these last couple of uncertain months?
You know, I would say one is to be centered. And what I mean by be centered is making sure that you are reinforcing positive encouragement to yourself. And even though something can be daunting or something can be overwhelmed, don't think in those terms of how overwhelmed this can be. Just try to trim it down to the point where it's not even about one day at a time. It's just taking 1 minute and building those minutes up, you know, to hours, you know, and then the hours become a day. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I feel good about that, versus looking at everything all at once, you know, and making sure you not only you're hydrating, taking care of yourself, you know, you eating, you know, properly. And then if you have to meditate and allow some of the good spiritual things to come into you. So then now you're able to release those in the company of other people, and be cautious and careful of the people you keep around you and the conversations that you're having, because I am a firm believer that I watch who I allow in my headspace, you know, even during my free time, you know, what I'm reading, you know, what I'm watching, and all the things that I'm reading and what I'm watching, is it changing my behavior? So I'm very well aware of my existence. So that's when I'd say come back to being centered. And then also check on loved ones as loved ones are checking on you. You know, pick up the phone. If you're not feeling good, if something's going on, don't be afraid to share. You know, just share. And if that means talking to someone and saying, all I just want you to do is listen. I don't need no rebuttal. I don't want anything. I just need to vent. I need to get something out. And then find ways to celebrate little small moments.
Yep. Yeah, that's so true. I love that. Well, and in terms of, you know, motivation and physical and mental health, we believe physical activity is obviously tied to mental health, and
Yes.
it's a key to a healthy mind and a body, like you said. And in your life, you didn't let asthma or allergies or anything else hinder you and being able to perform at the highest level. And so how do you maintain your fitness, and what can you share with people who want to overcome health challenges they might be facing?
You know what, I think one of the things you were talking about, the mind, body, and I always say the mind, body, and spirit, and in some cases soul, and for me, it was like, first of all, I had to accept that I was an asthmatic. I lived in denial. I didn't want to do the things, because I could run, jump, throw. They said, no, there's no way I can have asthma. But I made asthma one of my opponents, so it was like, let me do all the things I have control over and not worry about the things I can't control. So as long as I was following my pulmonologist, telling me what to do, doing it like I should, not like I wanted to, and so that made it, and I won't say it made it easier, but it took a lot of stress off me worrying about not having an asthma attack, because I can't control the environment. I can't control, but what I can control is to follow a game plan and make sure that I'm executing that game plan, just like if I'm preparing, getting ready to compete, and so for me, that's what I did. And then just always fed myself positive thoughts, never thought about having an asthma attack, doing everything I possibly could to prevent one from happening,
right.
And that gave me a stress releaser, because if I didn't train properly, it's like studying for an exam. If you have not studied, then your anxiety is going to be up out of the roof. So it's the same way as an athlete. I'm preparing, I'm ready, and not let those things I cannot control get the best of me.
Yeah, that's great advice. Well, Jackie, to close us out, have you had any silver linings over the last couple of months?
I would say that it's not really a silver lining, because I don't live like this, but I think it's so important, that we don't take things for granted, and how much we love sports. I talk to my nieces and my nephews, and I let them know, because they're like missing out. And I said, you see what this feel like when you can't do something you want to do. And when you have the opportunity to do it again, do it to the best of your ability, because you never know when something you love can be taken away. And so dealing with this virus and everything that we're going through is that it has taken away so much different things for all of us. But we must, I hope, come out of this, well, healthy, strong, but not take anything for granted anymore. And so for me, it might not be a silver lining, but because I try not to take anything for granted, but you can, until, things that you can, or you used to doing that you cannot do, that you realize that you really enjoy doing it. And now that you don't have it right now.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely, I think, given everybody a perspective shift.
Yes.
In that regard.
Yes.
Well, Jackie, thank you so much for your time and your work that you are doing. You have left quite the legacy for women in sports, and now are changing so many lives in East St. Louis. And we are just grateful for your time and your passion, and really appreciate you being with us tonight.
Oh, I appreciate you having me. And, Motivational Monday, I leave everybody with, you can do anything as long as you believe, because you can turn a doubter into a believer. So believe, and never give up. And thank you. And I look forward to, working with you all in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen. Thank you so much, Jackie.
Thank you.